Hey guys, Matt here today. Just want to show you guys a common problem with the twin cam fuel injected Harleys. If you're riding down the road and it starts sputtering and cutting out like it doesn't have any power, still runs, but just has a low power and starts popping. If you look right here, if you can see my finger there, this is actually the fuel pressure regulator housing. What happens is the plastic ears crumble and crack, and then the O-ring, which as you can see here, pops out and it bleeds off your pressure going to your fuel system. This will cause it to run terrible, and it may even put you on the side of the road where you can't even get home. Today we're going to replace that with the aluminum Trask upgrade that will eliminate this from happening in the future. Using your T20 Torx bit head, you're going to remove all of these screws around here once you get the actual bezel off. Once you get these screws out, now you're ready to go in and start removing the housing. All right guys, we've got the fuel sending unit all removed. We've got the fuel filter disconnected from the back side of this. This is where the failure comes from Harley. They made this housing out of plastic, and as you can see, it is broken. What happens is the fuel pressure regulator, which is the shiny piece here, slips out and the O-ring starts allowing fuel pressure to bleed off. We've since removed this piece from here, and now it's installed in the new fuel pressure regulator housing. This will go back, lock into the tabs here, and we'll never have this problem again. This is the part that will replace that. It's billet aluminum. Trask makes it. Part number is TM-3035. And once you replace this, you will no longer have that issue going forward in the future. I want to show you guys what I was talking about when I was pointing inside, talking about the beveled edge between the fuel pressure regulator and that fuel filter. If you look right here, this edge where the fuel filter would plug into has a beveled edge here, and it allows that O-ring to slip in there very easily from the factory with the factory housing. Trask makes a beautiful product and it'll last forever, but the one thing I noticed is the edge wasn't beveled, and it kind of caused an issue going in with the O-ring, and I caught it early enough, thank goodness, but you just have to work it a little bit to get the O-ring in. Once it's in, you're good to go, and you will never have this issue again going forward with the crumbling, cracking fuel pressure regulator housing. We've got this fuel pressure regulator housing mounted. As you can see, that is the new Trask aluminum fuel pressure regulator housing. Now, one thing I want to show you guys is right here where the fuel filter connects into the fuel pressure regulator housing, that O-ring from the factory has a beveled edge on the original housing. This one does not. So when you go to slide this fuel filter back into this housing, you're going to have to help that O-ring go in. Be very careful. Lubricate it with some WD-40 or some type of lubricant that won't contaminate the fuel. And then from there, just make sure it goes in without tearing it. You'll know when it goes in because it'll slip right in. But just make sure you're aware of that. That is very difficult. As you can see right here, this basically, I did not have one of the crimp clamps, so we went back with a stainless steel screw clamp, and it is holding that original fuel line back on. Now from here, you just want to seat everything back down in and start putting your screws back and closing up the fuel seal. We're going to go ahead and start putting our screws back in. Fuel assembly here, the tank. Normally I would say start those by hand. I just have a nice feel for it, so I feel comfortable putting them in. Do not run them all the way down. If you use an impact or any type of screwdriver, power screwdriver, you're going to end up causing an issue there. You'll over tighten it, you'll squish the gasket, and that's not what we want to do. Screws down with the screw gun. I did not tighten them. With this small ratchet, we're just going to go around and we're going to work our way around just snug. This does not have to be cranked down super tight as the gasket is very thick. Once you get it nice and snug, just move on to the next one in a pattern going back and forth across. Don't work around in a straight across pattern, as that will warp the seal on it. So we're just going to keep going back and forth until we get everything nice and snug. We're going to go ahead and connect this hose here. We're going to bring our fuel sender plug back up. We're going to snap that back in, make sure it clicks when it goes back in. And from here, we're going to start the bike up and give it a nice start, see if everything's working. Go ahead and start the bike now and see what we've got. I would prime the fuel system a couple times. That means turn the ignition switch on and then off a couple different times. That'll allow the pressure to build up in the system. Once we opened that system originally, that caused a loss of pressure. We don't want to start the engine with no fuel spraying in the injectors. All right, third time's a charm.